going to get on to my first video for 2021. Nothing too exciting, just a little talk about some cornbread mix and some books and just what's going on. So I came across a video and I watched a demonstration of making cornbread with Jiffy mix, and of course I've done that 1,000,001 times, but this particular video shared her secrets to making extra good cornbread. So I decided I would try it. I had a little variation because I ended up using Martha White's cornbread mix, and I just so happened also to run into a sweet little lady in the grocery store, and she said, if you're looking for a good cornbread mix, you need to try Martha White because it's the best. And so I'm going to share with you exactly what I added to the cornbread to make this delicious looking bread. It was so light and airy. The top was really crunchy with that nice buttery coat, and it was really good. So a simple mix from Martha White, adding a couple of extra things like egg and butter and a little drizzled honey on top, and it made it really, really perfect and yummy. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Marianne. I am aging gracefully. For those of you that have been a subscriber to my channel, welcome. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for those of you that are new, if you like the content here, I certainly would love to have you join and subscribe. I know I have been missing. Most of you probably read my little message that I did send out, and I thank you so much if you are returning for your dedication and coming back. Here it is already, January 13th, so Happy New Year, and we're almost in the middle of the month, and I'm just going to just be really honest with you. It's just been a sluggish struggle for me to get back into the groove or into some sort of a routine. So let me just start out by saying, because I don't want this to be an unhappy video, I tried to film a video a couple of weeks ago and I just couldn't. It was just too difficult still, and emotions were raw, and I just couldn't do it. So here I am, and now I would like to just mention a couple of things, and then I'm going to get on to my first video for 2021. Nothing too exciting, just a little talk about some cornbread mix and some books and just what's going on. So most of you know, and I thank you for all of your prayers and your wonderful comments. It really, really does help to know that people are praying for you and just trying to help as you get through a difficult time. My youngest brother suffered a stroke. It was an extremely critical stroke. They did everything they could for him. He did survive for 11 or 12 days. He had surgery, a cranie, and his heart just gave way. And it was a very devastating stroke, one that would have left him in just a very, very compromised way, very vegetative, and it was just bad. The other very hard and difficult part, there were several things that are always difficult in a loss, is that my brother lived in the Philippines with his wife, and so not being able to be a part of helping or assisting was difficult, and also the care of my mom is just, her care is declining, and so everything that occurred was just difficult. Couldn't share a lot with her, couldn't even tell her. It would have been way, way too hard, knowing that she would have just been devastated and fretting over his condition. But when he did pass, that was the perfect time to tell her that he had suffered a stroke, and even though they tried to do everything they could, his heart gave way because there was just a lot of damage. And so we, were able to get through that, but it was very difficult. And so emotionally, I was just kind of very raw. And it occurred before Christmas, probably, I want to say 6 or 7 days before Christmas, and then he finally passed on December 30th. And so I did my very best to keep spirits very level here, and just tried to go through the holidays as we normally do, and celebrate. Always knowing in the back of my mind, my heart was praying, and in the back of my mind, it was always, how are you? Are you going to get somewhat better? And just always waiting to hear. It was just rough. And by the time Christmas Day rolled around, I just felt like I hit a brick wall. I just was like, whew. But I will let you know that I still tried to have a few of those days where I could share some baking with my granddaughter and prepare some of the foods that my family enjoys during the holidays. And so we just kept spirits up as much as we could, because I was keeping the information guarded by not having to share it with my mom. It would have and it was the right decision, even though I was struggling with it on a daily basis. Should I tell her today? Should I tell her? The prognosis does not look good, but I never got a good inner peace about it. And I just thought, no, just get through another day. And so when the time came, I was able to just tell her, and she took it as well as you can expect, a little bit confused, and I did have to repeat it to her 2 or 3 times that same day. But by the next morning, I asked her if she remembered what we had talked about, and she said yes, and so she knows. But the medications that she's on help her just stay calm, and can kind of reason through as much as possible. My wonderful sister-in-law was magnificent and marvelous this whole time, keeping us very well informed. And he had a beautiful funeral mass. She videoed all of it, and she was able to share that with us. So there will be a service for him in the States at a future time. Just know that as any loss doesn't just make it harder because it's the holidays. It's just something that, you hate to think about that at that time of year. It's just something that is very much a part of living, and that is dying. And it doesn't always of course, occur when we think it might be better or convenient. And I've had many family members pass away during the holidays, and so I just had to will my focus on the holiday and just get through what needed to be done and put the joy in it, because that helped me a lot mentally. So I'm starting the year off, though, just a wee bit sluggish and really trying to get into a better routine. When I start feeling on the inside all kind of jumbled up and just anxious and, with everything going on, I have to purge. I have to clean. It's just what I do. And so I've been piddling my purge. So I get involved in something that's small, not too overwhelming, and I piddle with it and straighten it up and clean it up and purge it out, and I feel better. So I'm doing a little bit of that. And because right now, the only other thing I'll mention is that, yes, my mom's care is totally full-time. I think I have indicated I have hired some outside nursing help so that I can have a couple of days a week where I can get out and she's safe at home and taken care of. And then I have always to run to the grocery store, the drugstore for her meds and needed supplies. So this helps me out, and it gives me a time to just breathe. And since we're talking about breathing, that's kind of my focus this year, is to just breathe. Just remember to take the little steps to quiet myself, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed out, which I must admit, many of my days, there is a portion of that day that gets so overwhelming and so stressful that I just have to learn to breathe. I know God is in control, and I know that I will allow Him to continue to be in control, and He'll get me through it. So I just wanted to come on so that I could get back into the groove of things, so that I can just slowly re-enter back into a video world. I miss you all. I just miss the corresponding back and forth with you. I'm so interested in knowing what are you doing? How did you get back into the year? And if there's anything new that you want to share, I am just happy to be here right now at this time. So let me just tell you what I did for starters. I talked to you about my Richard Paul Evans Christmas book, and usually by this time I would have it completely finished. Well, I haven't even started it. I love him as an author. This is called the Noel Letters, and I just know a lot of times when I read his stories, it's really, it's sad, it's happy, you laugh, you cry. He's a great writer, and I just felt at this point I was always walking on the brink of tears, and I didn't want anything too heavy. Not that his novels, they're light, they're airy, but they're also very heart-tugging. So I've just kind of put this aside for some relaxing reading, and I'm probably going to get it started this weekend, and I'm sure I'll go right through it as I usually do when I start reading them. But I decided I needed something light, just to keep my mind off of everyday stresses, and I kind of needed more of just something very light. And I came across The Tale of Desperaux. It is about a little mouse, and I thought, really, am I losing my mind? But it is just such a beautiful little book. And the illustrations in it, if I can show you. Let me get to one. They're really neat. I mean, they're just kind of fun to look at. And it's really an adorable little story about a mouse living in a palace dungeon and the princess. And so I know that might sound crazy, but for me it's not, because it's just lightened my heart, and I needed that, especially these last 3 weeks that it's just been tough to go through. So I'm reading this, The Tale of Desperaux, and I'll read you what it's about. And then I don't know. I just thought I must be losing my mind, but I'm not. I think when you're struggling and you're going through a grief period, I think you have to look really hard and you have to find the joy, whatever that is. So this is the story of, I think it's Desperaux Tilling, a mouse in love with music, stories, and a princess named Pia. It's also the story of a rat called Roscuro, who lives in darkness but covers a world filled with light. And it is the story of Miggery So, a slow-witted serving girl with a simple, impossible wish. These characters are about to embark on a journey that will lead them down into a horrible dungeon, up into a glittering castle, and ultimately into each other's lives. And what happens then? Question mark. Reader, it is your destiny to find out. I just thought, that's what I need. So I've been enjoying it. It's really sweet. And it's just really, like I said, it's illustrated well. It's just a fun book to read. And I thought, well, if anybody thinks I'm crazy, then I guess I'm among the crazy. And the other little thing is that I wanted to mention is I still am going to share in upcoming videos some of what I did over the holidays and some of the baking and just the foods I made. And boy, let me tell you guys, yes, I was bad. I ate what I wanted, when I wanted. I enjoyed the holiday desserts and cookies. And then, of course, now back on track. And I'm back into my oatmeal and salads and just eating right, because I know I participated in a lot of stress eating, and I haven't been able to walk just because I cannot leave the house, and so I am watching some videos online and just starting to do some just basic little exercises to help me. But speaking of exercises, let's speak about eating, and let's talk about this. Martha White, okay? This is a buttermilk cornbread mix, and this is the sweet yellow cornbread muffin mix. Well, this is what I ended up buying, and I'll tell you why. One night when I couldn't sleep, I was watching a video, and I saw a video someone did on making cornbread and zhuzhing it up that made cornbread really, taste really great. And I'm always doing that. I'm always thinking about, I'm always thinking about I need to add corn to my cornbread, or jalapenos, or bacon, or cheese, or whatever. And sometimes I just want a piece of plain, simple cornbread, because I made a nice big pan of chili the other day, just loaded with, turkey meat, several different types of beans, and just really good, really filling, and very low in calories, and good to eat. So I wanted to, that's where I save calories and fat, by using turkey meat and using more beans for sustenance. And then, of course, just can of tomatoes and seasoning. So I'd like to enjoy a piece of cornbread with the chili. So I like to enjoy a piece of cornbread with chili, but sometimes the cornbread, especially from mixes, it is so dry. They're just so dry. So I was watching some gal making cornbread, and she said, it'll change the way you make cornbread. And so I decided I was going to go get, she was making it from the Jiffy mix in the box. And I thought, well, I'm going to try it her way, because I've used that mix before many times, but it's just kind of dry and sort of yuck tasting. But that's what I was going to do. And as I was at the grocery store, this sweet little old lady came through. She goes, "Are you looking for a good cornbread?" I said, "Well, yeah." Even though I knew I was going to use the mix and then zhuzh it up the way I saw it on the video, she said, "Well, you cannot go wrong with this Martha White." And I said, "Well, I've used the biscuit mix from her." She goes, "This cornbread, it is the best." And she goes, "And here's a secret. Add an extra egg and use some buttermilk, because that," and I'm like, that's exactly what I saw on the video. So I was like, wow, okay. So anyways, I bought these 2 packages, buttermilk cornbread muffin mix and sweet yellow cornbread. And I just decided, okay, I am going to do the version of what I saw in that video with the Jif mix, and I mixed these 2 together. I didn't have any buttermilk, so I made my own. I took a cup of, I took like, what was it? I think 2/3 of a cup, and what else did I add to it? Well, I think what I did was, I didn't follow what the gal did with the Jif mix, because I think it was more, these were only 7-ounce bags. Yeah, 6 ounce and a 7 ounce. So there was more in the box mix. So what I did was I decided I'm going to follow what it says on the back. So this said a 1/2 cup of milk, and the other one said 2/3 cup of milk. You could either use milk or water. So what I did was I measured that out, and then I just added a tablespoon of white vinegar just to make it like a buttermilk. And I'm sure it would have been even more velvety if I had used that nice, rich, thick buttermilk, but I just didn't have any. So that's what I did. And then one of these called for an egg, and the other one didn't. So I used 2 eggs. I just decided, okay, for that mix, I'm going to use 2 eggs. And then on the video, she said she used 4 tablespoons of sugar. And I was like, I don't want to use white sugar. So I used cane sugar, and I cut it down to 2.5 tablespoons instead of the 4. And she used 7 tablespoons of butter, and I cut it down to 4. So basically, I melted the butter in my cast iron skillet, and then I just let it sit in the pan off of the burner, and then I beat my eggs up, and then I added the buttermilk to it, and then I added the melted butter, and then in a bowl I just dumped these 2 packages, took a whisk, and just broke them all up so it was, nice and powdery. And then I went ahead and added the milk to the eggs, mixed it all up. I made a well in the center, and just used a spoon and mixed it really, really good. And then I took a whisk and whisked it up till it was nice and smooth. And then, I think I forgot. When the butter cooled from the pan, I just added that to the milk and the eggs and the powder mixture. So I put the powder mixture in the bowl, and then I mixed up the eggs, added the buttermilk that I made, zhuzhed it all around, and then I threw that in the bowl, and then I poured the butter on top, and then I just stirred it and then took out my whisk. You could use a hand beater or whatever, but I didn't want to go to that trouble. So I mixed it all up, and normally with my cast iron skillets, I heat it up in the on top of the burner and put the corn mixture in the pan and just let it for about a minute, just cook. But I didn't do that this time because I had melted the butter in the cast iron, and the cast iron was still pretty warm. And so I put it in, and I just kind of, zhuzh the pan around a little bit, get the air out, and I stuck it in the oven for 45 minutes at 350. And I believe on this, it says heat it at 450. So 450 for 17 to 22 minutes. The gal on the video said cut it down to 350 and cook it for 40 minutes. It'll be moist, fluffy, and delicious. And guys, here it is. It is every bit. It is delicious. And so I couldn't wait for dinner to have it with my chili.
That is deliciously moist. There is no dryness in this cornbread. Oh my goodness, it is yummo.
I had to have a piece when it was hot. So when it came out, I took about a tablespoon of honey, a little bit less, and a tablespoon of melted butter, mixed it all up, and just poured it over the top. Delicious. Oh, sinfully delicious. It was so yummy. And I just ate. It was no chili.
That empty plate says it all. Sometimes it's just the plain and simple that just brings back the explosion of flavors. So a piece of cornbread with a little bit of buttermilk in it, a little egg, some melted butter. It was just delicious.
I don't know if I'm going to have another piece with my chili tonight. I might. And if I do, it's just okay. It's just okay because I deserve it. And I'll just do some extra cleaning and ram up that getting back into the swing of things. But sometimes, you just want a good old-fashioned piece of cornbread. And wow, this mix is so simple and so easy. And then just adding those few little things to zhuzh it up, an extra egg, buttermilk, and if you don't have it, make it yourself. So, like I said, between these two packages, it only called for 1 egg, so I used 2. But it is light, airy, and it is delicious, and it's not overly sweet. And like I said, I used cane sugar. I cut it down from the 4 tablespoons to about 2.5 for this amount, and it wasn't overly sweet, and it did have a nice buttermilky consistency. It was just so good. So experiment. I'd encourage it. It was just really good. And I'm sure, I can tell you right now, I'm almost 100% positive that when I go to heat up my chili tonight for dinner, there'll be a piece of that cornbread right on the side. Ooh. And when I was younger and worked in a restaurant as a waitress, one of the waitresses, in the morning, she was having a piece of cornbread with maple syrup on it. And I'm like, really? She goes, oh my gosh, so good. But it has to be a really good piece of cornbread. So I know I got a really good piece of cornbread, but if I have an extra piece tonight, I definitely won't be having it tomorrow. But cornbread freezes up really, really good, and it's delicious. So that's really all I have today. I just kind of wanted to come back and sort of get back into the groove and say hello to you and let you know I'm doing fine, and I appreciate all of your sweet, wonderful words and your prayers, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. So before I leave, I want to put together a video to share with you a couple of things that I did get over the holidays, and I like that I've been using, and I'd like to share those with you. And just some of the different pastries and things like that that I made. I know the holidays are over, but we're in winter, and I didn't get to do it, but I still want to do that. So until my next video, gosh, guys, it was great to be back here again. It feels good. Be kind, be humble, and age gracefully. Bye.